Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 92. I'm watching you do that in the background while that's playing and I'm cracking up. It's messed up
Well,
my
it's
whole
bouncy. I
introduction.
like it. I'm trying to get loose because I'm supposed to be funny.
Funny, loose.
Funny. Except I'm not a
Well,
comedian.
here's a good start to episode 92 of At the Coffee Table podcast. Hope everybody got a laugh out of that. I am Jason Klink, your host, with my co-host Bob Kahn,
Howdy.
and we're here live again here this week to talk about all of the political ads that we have been bombarded with. If you watch any kind of live TV, that are just every minute on the minute right now, and it's a no wonder that people cut the cord and just go to streaming services to be able to watch, some kind of entertainment.
Yeah, I got a question for you. What happens if they hold an election but nobody votes? Who wins?
Whoever they stuff the ballot box
Because
with.
they're only get one vote each. So if they have a large family that's a voter age, I guess they would win.
Right. I think it's well. If you ask some conspiracy theorists, it's whoever they stuff the ballot box with.
As President Johnson or the former president or the late president, yeah, he
Yep.
did that. And oh, yeah, Tricky Dick did that too.
No,
No
Tricky Dicky.
politics, no politics, no
Right.
politics.
Well, there's going to be politics regardless in this conversation.
It's how you avoid it.
No, right.
But,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, what started this conversation is Jason and I were talking about how stupid these ads are. And I don't care where you are in the United States, Canada, and most likely the world. There's no such thing as the reason you should vote for me is because I've done this all for you, the people. It's with sincerity, I hope.
Right.
No.
No.
Jason, you suck.
Yep.
Why, I saw you out and blah, blah, blah. And it's just one after another after
Yep.
another. And
Yep.
if it's, and then they have the opposite party doing a video saying, I am a diehard whatever. And I voted for whom, but he's an empty suit. So I'm voting for the other guy. I'm like, yeah, okay, what issue was that? I lost track.
I think that like this in current times, I think these political campaigns understand that or maybe they don't. The eyeballs and what they're putting out there is very few and far between because, like I said, most people are using streaming services to watch any kind of entertainment. Even for news and news media, they're online watching instead of watching the old analog channels. But they really are maximizing the time that they've bought by, you'll get. I know here where I am, they'll go to a commercial break, and within 3.5 minutes, you've seen 3.5 political ads
Oh yeah,
that
oh yeah.
that
And
just
they and
bombard each other.
and my wife, who used to be in advertising, told me that there's a deep discount for the people placing these ads. But now you have independent parties, one or the other, pick
Hmm.
one, who are saying, putting out such BS and
Yeah.
such lies. And one thing we learned, fear makes people vote.
Yes.
It's stupid because they know in their heart of hearts that it's BS. And yet so many people vote against their own self-interest because obviously if these ads didn't work, they wouldn't run them.
Well, and that's just it. One side wants you to be
Excuse me.
fearful of the other, and they're going to take whatever sound bites or sound clips, put them together to make this fantastic video package that does nothing but make you scared of the other person because
Yeah.
this side's aligned with Trump and they push all of that platform, and then this side is aligned with the socialist Democrats and they're pushing this platform, and they just want you to be scared of one or the other without. But what's this most stupid part of this whole thing is the fact
Yeah,
that they
what?
still think that we can't find our own sources of information. that we
Well,
can't do our own fact checking.
the funny thing is, there is more information available, obviously, at your fingertips than ever before, but so few people use it when it comes to things like politics, on who I vote for, who I want to vote for. It's, and I have to admit, I'm at fault. Um, I sometimes vote straight even though I'm an independent, on certain parties. Um, Used to be, I remember when Reagan was running against Carter. Excuse me. I really liked Jimmy Carter as a person,
Right.
but he
Most people
wasn't a
did.
very good president in
No.
terms of, he brokered the deal with Israel and Egypt. That was the highlight. But he was weak. I mean, he's a nice guy. He's
Sure.
obviously a terrific man.
Yep.
And I actually voted, and I had never voted Republican before, but I voted for the person I felt would do the best job.
Yeah.
And I don't mind, I don't care if you think that Mr. X with an R next to his name will do a better job than Mr. or Miss Y with a D next to their name, or a G or a Q. Go for it.
Yeah.
But do it not because you fell for some idiotic ads that you should know better, that what they're saying is BS.
It's
If you have nothing, weren't you taught this as a kid? If you have nothing good to say, don't say anything.
don't say it at all. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And it's like here in New York. Now, Bob's in New Jersey. I'm in New York, and here in New York, we have a replacement governor. Our king and monarch was toppled down and removed, and now we have a replacement governor. And you would think by the ads that her team are putting out that she has been governor for like 2 or 3 terms. She's
Right,
been governor
right.
for barely a year, I think.
Yeah.
And I did this and I did that. No, you haven't done a thing. You're just picking up the ball where King Andrew left off, and taking it and kind of shaping it as your own.
What's interesting is that it works.
Yeah.
A certain party that's no longer president, he uh, he decided it was him who created the great economy, and
Yep.
the world knows, but may not admit it, that another former president was the one that his term is the one that did it. I'm
Yep.
trying to be non-political, but it's so hard.
It's hard not to go down that rabbit
you know,
hole.
but I mean, some of these ads are ridiculous, and then some of the comments. Now, I am not a constitutional lawyer, but there's a certain representative from the state of Colorado who actually got on a microphone live and said, and I'm going to get close to what the person said, is that I'm sick and tired of this crap about separation of church and state. It's not in the Constitution.
Yeah.
And nobody slammed her. They cheered.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And this is typical of stuff. And then the lies, I watch them because you don't have a choice. If you're watching a ball game or you whatever, they're there.
Yep.
And you start realizing that, like, there's a candidate here that's running for House of Representatives. He happens to be the son of the former governor. I know him personally. And what they're saying about him as a person, it's not true.
Mm,
What they're saying about what he might or might not have accomplished
right.
is true. But you can't say, if you don't know the person, you just assume everything is true.
Right.
And the same for the other guy.
Yeah.
It's like, the only reason a president takes credit for stuff is because he's the leader. But the president doesn't go out on the road and go into Congress and knock on doors and go, "Hey, come on, support us, support us, support us," unless it's dire need.
Yeah.
So I would love to see at some point the schools start teaching these people to think for themselves. It's like,
That's a novel concept.
You ever watch the State of the Union?
Uh,
I realize we're veering off here, but the
yeah,
State of the Union never
years
had,
ago, I stopped watching it
yeah, but they
because it's
never
just
had a
pomp and
rebuttal.
circumstance. No.
So they have the State of the Union, the
Yep.
opposite party does the rebuttal, and then the talking heads tell you what you just saw and
Yep.
heard.
Yep.
Why do I need them telling me? And that's how this world has come.
Yeah.
So it's no wonder that these political ads work. They shouldn't, and I'm sorry they do. You know, um, it's just remarkable to me how we have lost our way.
Do you know
Um,
who? Do you know who Tulsi Gabbard is?
Unfortunately, yes.
So here's my, and she's always an interesting subject to talk about because I mean she's kind of an independent libertarian in Democratic clothing,
Well, she just
and
left the Democratic Party.
she just left the Democratic Party. She was a Democratic candidate for president, and up until like this year, I was a huge fan of hers. I loved the way she spoke her mind. She spoke her politics. She didn't care about ruffling Democratic feathers. And, because I identify with a libertarian platform, I was very encouraged by what she was saying. But then Fox News got their hooks into her. And Fox News took advantage of turning a Democrat, and so now she leaves the Democratic Party because she can't support them. Some of the things I do agree with her on is there is a top 1% elite that are running this country, period, end of story, because there's just zero reason for somebody to stay in a political position for 50 years and make it a career. It was never intended to be a career. You were being of
Well,
service instead of going into a military service.
what I don't understand is in the Constitution, it describes the senators and Congress people as citizen representatives.
Yeah, imagine
They
that.
had like real jobs,
Yep.
whether it was owning, a farm or whatever.
Yep.
And now, obviously, it's a little different today because we're a much bigger country. But
Yep.
however, they would get to Washington from wherever they were, and they'd be there for a fortnight. They'd get their stipend. They probably got put up at a hotel. They got fed, and they went home and did
Yep.
their job.
Yep.
And now you have, like you said, people who've been in the Congress or the Senate for 50 years have become fat and rich
Yep.
off our backs.
Yep.
These are the same people who support these idiotic ads. And I'm not
Yes.
saying it's an R or a D. It's become, you
Straight
wonder
across
why
the
the
board.
country is divided. Well, now you know why.
No,
Because
because they make
people
sure of it.
believe this crap.
Yep.
They they
Yeah.
they believe that the other side eats babies or runs a what do they say, a pizza parlor in Chicago.
Right.
Where I mean, you know, you would think that would go, oh wait a minute, what did you just say?
Right.
But they don't. They like these QAnons. These are some of them are very intelligent people, and I just like these are the same people who probably write or believe these ads.
Imagine
What?
the ads if they had to be like tripled or quadrupled because the current powers that be would allow third party candidates to participate. And if it was strong third party candidates, there'd be probably more and more ads.
Yeah, but they'd be doing this. They'd be shooting both of them
Oh yeah.
because, especially if they've never been in Congress, I have no problem voting for an incumbent if I'm blinking again. Now I'm going out. Did you
Yeah, I was too actually this time.
love the internet? Love it,
Yeah.
love it, love
They're
it.
probably we're probably getting censored.
Yeah. Hello, FBI. Hello, NSA. We haven't said anything that's not true yet.
Right.
Um, we have allowed the what is it? I forgot the word. We've become a dumber nation. The school systems are failing the kids, and we're allowing it to happen. I told you this story. I don't know if I did it on the podcast, but in Union, where my wife taught, there was a time where you had to have a 3.0 GPA and the certification to actually teach in the town. Well, they weren't getting enough people, so they lowered it to 2.8. I think it's down to like 2.3. So 30 years ago, somebody or some group of people started dumbing down America. And where do you start? You start in the school system.
Oh yeah.
So, although I never really thought of it as indoctrination, in a way it was. And it's like uh, teaching politics should not be in school. Teaching citizen education, you know, and political science, the actual science of politics, is
Yep.
one thing. But saying this candidate's, it's like from a church, the father, the pastor, the priest, the rabbi, the imam taking a side.
Yeah.
What happened to church? That's that whole church and state thing. So these political ads play on the fears. I think we talked about it last week.
Yep.
Play on the fears of people. If I haven't had a job since my coal mine died, and everybody promised everything, but nobody did anything, I'd probably be pissed. But I'm not sure which party I'd be pissed at, if not both. And then what? So although this election coming up looks like it's going to be high turnout because of all the issues involved, the thing is it's never as bad as they say it's going to be. Oh, if the Republicans, we're going to
Yeah.
lose the democracy. It ain't that simple. Oh, if the Democrats stay in, we're going to lose the democracy. Huh? You
Uh,
know, the
Yeah. It's
immigrants are overrunning the country. They're
think.
taking jobs away from good American citizens. Really, because I know so many American citizens that love picking cotton, fruit, vegetables, working in the fields in the middle of the summer at 110 degrees. Oh yeah, those are the jobs that they're taking away. The
Think
reality
about
of it is, do we need a new immigration policy? Yeah, but stop
right.
telling me we need a new immigration policy. Do something about it.
Right. Now, if you think about like I was saying about the um, third party candidates that aren't allowed to participate. Think back to 1992, old Ross Perot, a wacky Ross Perot. But he made such a push into that presidential election before he lost his mind and ultimately dropped out. If you don't know who Ross is, Google him.
Oh, I
Uh,
love Ross Perot.
but
He
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 was
he he was brave.
he was brave. He was upsetting the apple cart, and there after that, the two major parties, the duopoly, made sure that wasn't going to happen again. And then here in New York, there was three or four third party candidates running for governor last time. King Andrew refused to debate them, even though there was a strong libertarian candidate that would have gave him a run for his money. He refused to debate them, and he only debated the Republican sacrificial lamb once. So,
Politics is dirty.
yep,
No matter what state. I think New Jersey trains them, but that's just my opinion.
you're right.
It's for a nation that is supposed to be intelligent. Um, it doesn't show that well.
No,
And just wherever you are, if you're listening, not in New Jersey or New York, and you're in California. I mean, California has some really whacked out
oh,
candidates and whacked out ads. They have a
yeah,
governor that's putting billboards up in other people's uh, states. It's just like, what?
yeah,
It's. I'm tired of the Republicans. I'm tired of the Democrats.
yep.
I'm tired of them electing the same people, just different faces. You know, it's time for change, and I don't want a bloody revolution. You know, I just hope it doesn't take that. But I remember, you ever seen the scene in the Mafia when the guy is showing Michael how to use the gun and how to drop the gun. And he goes, "Don't worry about it, Mike. You know, this happens every 5 or 10 years. It needs to happen to kind of clean out the dead wood." Well, I'm not suggesting anybody shoot anybody, so forget that. What I'm
Jeez.
suggesting is it's time to clean house.
It is.
How much worse would it be if we got rid of everybody and started over again? The Constitution would still be there. People running would hopefully know how to run and what to say and actually have the people's benefit in their hearts,
I, I'm just
um,
concerned. I'm
and
just
not try
concerned
to
that,
make themselves rich.
yeah, but at this point, with what's been created in this country, um, I'm concerned that before a revolution like that, where you cleaned house and you started, anybody that's been in, in a political position for decades was ultimately replaced or came close to being replaced, that they would just burn it down. They would burn it down on their way out.
Yeah, that is a possibility. That is definitely a possibility.
Yep.
But then again, if so and so didn't get elected, there'd be riots in the streets and people would die. I don't recall that happening. I know he
No.
tried,
Yeah.
but you know, scare tactics and intimidation works if you don't have a sound sense of self.
Yeah.
If you don't investigate, okay. I mean, I look at these ads, and when it's BS, I'll check it out. I mean, it's easy. I mean, with Google, you could, or even just go on and say, "Show me what so and so did in the last 2 years or the last 6 years in
Right.
the Senate." But people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
This has become the enemy of the people.
Yep.
Um, Although I do use Reels for my business, um, it's so easy to get caught up and go down the rabbit hole of watching these videos.
Yeah.
And it's scary because everybody wants to be an influencer.
Right.
I mean, there's a kid, our friend Phyllis is the marketing person or helps market. This kid's now probably 10 or 11. When he was 6, he started his own YouTube channel of looking at toys, playing with toys, and then telling you if it's good or bad.
Right.
It caught on.
Yep.
I don't know what he and his family made last year, but the year before they made $23 million off YouTube.
Wow.
Uh, Remember when all those infomercials when they said they would sell the hide a key or whatever, all these crap. My wife and I said, I'll bet you, marketed correctly, you could sell a bag of shit. Obviously, you can.
Yeah.
That's what the politicals are, a
Yeah.
big, hot bag of shit.
It, and you would think that they would catch on, and maybe it's because they don't want to. I don't know. I don't think there's much off the table. You would think that there would be more ads on social media and YouTube and stuff like that. The pre-ad rolls and so on, than the television. I just don't understand pounding TV when the majority of consumership is online.
I don't have an answer.
Yeah, I
Do,
don't.
do you know there was
That
actually a law of truth in advertising that worked for about 2 seconds? True. There was, just like before the Patriot Act and Citizens United, there was a law that said the maximum you could donate to any party or any candidate was $2.
Right.
Now, if you want to spend $1 million and do it on 500,000 candidates, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
So obviously, there isn't a person in America today that doesn't realize and believe that change needs to be done.
Yeah.
I'm not talking radical change. How about just stop the bus, turn it around, and go back to doing things according to the Constitution
Right.
and your state laws. Because here in New Jersey, it always feels like, I told you this, always feels like the laws are suggestion.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's eight, the speed limit's not 80 miles an hour. No, you're on Route 80, sir. You know,
And the thing is like even with laws and the constitutional law, like for some reason, executive orders have become law. You know, we've been in a perpetual state of emergency since 2020 for whatever reason or another, for no good reason. I just, well, I don't know. I'd like to say no good reason. Maybe it's a good reason to somebody else, but you know, gun violence is not a new thing in the state of New York. But all of a sudden, it was a reason to have a state of emergency.
yeah, there's so many issues that should be discussed. None of these candidates ever say, I have a plan for this. Whether you like Biden or not, at least he said, I have a plan for this. Sometimes he actually went into depth. Depth.
Depth. Depth.
You know, it's like I'm too busy saying what a sea sucker Jason is rather than, you know, he said he had a plan for this and this. Well, I have a plan too. And it's, you know, there's parts of it. Why couldn't you just say, listen, why is it that because the bill was introduced, that's a very good bill that would really help the people, has an R next to it? Why can't I vote for it? Or it has a D next to it. Like we all know that you put 100 people into a room and say, where should we go for lunch? You're never going to lunch.
Right. Yeah. I don't know where
And
you want
yet,
to go.
and yet 100% of one party votes no or yes, and almost 100% of the other party does the same thing.
Yep.
It's got to change,
Yep.
and it's the political ads a reflection of all this.
Yep. Yeah.
You know,
And it's funny because they'll start passing bills or something good will happen and they will trip over themselves to take credit for it and make an ad out of it. Like here locally, they brought in a microchip
yep.
company here
Right,
locally.
you told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, they bring and these
Tell
politicians
the
from the,
people what is involved here.
well, you know, so they bring in this microchip company. They promise them this acres and acres of land to build this microchip company, and from the county level all the way up to the federal level, the politicians tripped over each other trying to say, I did this, I did this. Chuck Schumer hasn't been in Central New York all freaking year, but all of a sudden this microchip company shows up, and now it was all about him. But they're not even remotely discussing the fact that they have to take, you know, some personal homeowner's property by eminent domain to satisfy the land requirements for this business. They're not talking about that. What they're
No.
talking about is we're bringing hundreds or thousands of jobs and billions of dollars to Central New York because, well, let's talk about all of the issues before you tout how great you are and how you did this.
You know, I when you told me that yesterday, I asked you a question, and I think it's time for the politicians to ask the question. Excuse me. You mean there's no land big enough, empty land big enough that this could be built on?
Right. Exactly.
Why is it because the owner of the company wants a nice home next to this development, but he needs the land to build his home? I mean, why is it that those with the money get to say what happens to the people who don't have the money?
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
it's if you want to strike fear in the hearts of the people, tell them the truth. They
Yeah.
don't need to BS it.
Right. Yeah.
Tell them the truth. That'll scare them enough.
Absolutely. Yeah,
You know.
probably if we knew half of what was really going on, we'd be all terrified anyway.
All right. You know, it's funny. If the real history of the world was written down, all the black and blues, all the good and the bad and everything else, you want to talk about a scary story. You know, if the
Hmm.
real truth, you know, I like your house, Jason. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take it. Get
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
That's
I'm gonna do
pretty
me.
much what explorers do,
Yep.
what the mass migration to the United States in the 17, 18, and 1900s did,
Yep.
and every other frickin' nation around the world.
Yep.
You know, sorry. You know, eminent domain, I swear, I have no basis for understanding or where it came from, but is thought of by some politician who wanted somebody something
Yep.
and said, I got an idea. We'll
Yep.
get the city to take it.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not going to leave, so we're just going to take it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Here's a quick story. Mr. You know who was building his casino in Atlantic City, and he had bought up all the property. There was a woman. There's a house. I don't know if it's still there, but there was a house where he wanted to put his garage. Right? She said he offered her $1 million. The house was probably worth 50,000 at the time.
Yeah.
$1 million. She told him she could do, what he could do with his money. So he said, okay. He went out. Now I don't know how he did this, because everybody for those who don't understand the word airspace, when you own a piece of property, you own the dirt beneath the house and
Mm-hmm.
the air above ad infinitum. And you can sell it if you want to, but he managed to buy it. So he actually built his garage over the woman's house.
That's
And he
amazing.
had done it also in Manhattan. He wanted to buy the Bonwood Teller space, and they said no. So he
Right.
built this building over Bonwood Teller by buying the air rights. This kind of stuff, you can't make this up.
Right.
But it's the real history of the world. And history right now is kind of warped,
Yep.
getting back to the subject.
Yep.
Um, I would really like to see somebody go, I am new to politics, and I'm not sure exactly where to start, but I'm a quick learner. And if you allow me the privilege of serving you, I will do everything in my power to whatever.
Yeah.
Would they get elected? Probably not,
No. No.
unless they had a lot of money behind
Because
them.
if they had to do that, that's just it. They got to have deep pockets and a lot of donors. Otherwise, they could say that all day long and nobody's ever
Yeah,
going to see it because the other ads will just wipe it all out. So
yeah. Yeah, we've been actually lucky here in New Jersey, because usually the political ads start 2 years before the interim the
you're right.
election. Luckily, it only really started in the last month or so, and it just got nastier
Oh
and
yeah.
nastier.
Yep.
And why did they? I see. What I'd like to do is I'd like to see them stand in a pool of mud, right, and just start throwing mud at each
Yeah.
other,
Just have a mud wrestling contest.
because that's what they're doing anyway.
Right. Might as well cut to the
Jason,
chase.
you're running for Congress. What are you going to do for the people that your opponent isn't going to do?
Right.
Well, there is that, yeah, I'm going. They don't know, because they don't know.
They don't know. No.
You know,
No. It's
you
amazing.
know.
Well, I think we beat this up enough.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's not bored.
You're right. I think we beat this up enough.
We'll
But
find a better topic next week.
yeah, but we'd love to hear your comments and your point of view. Conversations are
You don't have
free.
to agree with us.
Yep, you don't have to. You can disagree all day long. That's fine, because that's the point of at the coffee table is to be able to sit down and have a
Right.
conversation and not get offended. And you are entitled to, or you have the right to your own opinion, and whatever basis you base it on. So with that,
Exactly.
please like, comment, and share this with anybody you might think would get any value out of it. That's the only way we're going to grow our community. It's slowly growing, slowly but surely. um,
Yay.
and we're trying our best to bring you topics and subjects that are fun to discuss. So with that, until next week, like I said, we'd love to hear from you. And Bob, take it away.
As always, please be nice, stay safe, and laugh a lot. It'll
Please
keep
laugh a
you
lot.
happy and keep you young.
Yeah,
Till
100%.
next week.
Till next week, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a great day.